All right. Welcome back, everyone. We are now into the best of 3 champion match in EU between Buff Enjoyers, the returning champs, and Leviathan, the challengers. Going into our pick and ban phase, our first ban is Pocket, followed by Lash. These seem to be our standard 2 bans for EU. Again, I think banning Pocket is a waste of a ban. That hero is not nearly as good as they make it out to be. I've checked, and across the Deadlock night shift over the past 2 months, since Pocket's last change, Pocket has had a win rate of 30%. And if you look in any ranking whatsoever in the game, Pocket's win rate is less than 50%. In fact, it's low 45 or lower for most ranks. I don't think Pocket is nearly as good as these pro players are making them out to be. Pocket loses way more often than they win. This ban is such a waste. If I was coaching one of these teams, I'd tell them never ban Pocket. It is never worth banning. Ban a useful hero. Anywho, that's enough of my rant on that. For now, don't worry, the rant will return the next time Pocket gets banned. First pick of the game was Celeste by Leviathan. Reminder, like I said in our first game of Abrahams versus Leviathan, Celeste has been dominating in ranked games, has been seen as very strong. Got an entire mini patch dedicated to her just the other day, specifically nerfing her and one of her items that she builds every game, and mostly reshifting a lot of her power from early game into mid to later game where she gets it back. Along with, just some hits that are straight up hits, just some nerfs that are nerfs. So seeing her being first picked even after getting nerfed means that either she was being slept on for too long and she's still strong enough that it's worth it, or the pro players are just a little bit late to the party and are overreacting to something that already got nerfed. But we'll see how it shakes up. Leviathan also pick up Billy and Doorman. So Billy, a frontline hero, very disruptive, lot of tankiness, good team fight, ultimate, stuff like that. Nice to see. And Doorman, just very disruptive, mostly utility, somewhat spirit focused more often than not. Hero that can just stun enemies and control them for extended period of times. And of course, setting the doors to allow his team fast passage across the map. Buff Enjoyer's first 3 picks were Rem, Abrams, and Calico. Very standard picks right now. Rem, the best support in the game. Abrams, arguably the best tank in the game. Billy is right there with him. And Calico, who is a very strong early game focused ganking hero that moves across the map very quickly and bursts a lot of spirit damage. So far, very standard from Buff Enjoyers, while Leviathan have gone a little different with Celeste and very different with Dynamo, with a 100% win rate in the Deadlock night shift over the past few months. Dynamo makes a return. Will he be able to carry against Buff Enjoyers, though, is the question. So, Dynamo, we'll just take a second to talk about him. Dynamo has very pronounced strengths and very pronounced weaknesses. The strengths of Dynamo are all of his spells are very, very good. His first spell does a lot of damage and is a soft disable by knocking enemies into the air and disabling their movement for a second, slowing them, that kind of thing. His second ability is a displacement of himself and any allies around him. It makes them entirely invulnerable and transports them to him. It can pull them through walls to save them, through floors, etc. His third ability is a big AoE heal that heals by max HP when it's leveled up, so it's a very strong heal. And his big, most important ability, Black Hole. Dynamo becomes a black hole, and all enemies within the black hole are stunned and taking damage per second. Now, the problems with Dynamo are mainly that he is a little weaker in the early game, and he has very long cooldowns. Black Hole is the longest cooldown in the game at 250 seconds. Over 4 minutes between black holes. So he's got to make them count and at least hit like 1 key character, if not 2. All right, now that we've talked about Dynamo, who's kind of our interesting pick, let's go back to the normal picks. Buff Enjoyers take both Warden and Venator, so that makes either two scaling gun carries that are going to build very similar to each other and function very similar to each other, or Warden might go for a Spirit build and focus on his ultimate and turn that into just a cone of death, and if enemies are inside of it, they will be very unhappy. But if Warden and Venator both decide to build gun, that is two very similar heroes to each other, doing very similar things to each other, and I think that's a little bit of... You don't want to double dip more often than not in MOBAs, so I think it might be a little too much focus into the same thing. What it did do is it denied the Venator pick from Leviathan, so when Leviathan went for a scaling gun carry, they are forced on something more like Mirage, who is a little slower paced, you could say, and doesn't naturally get as beefy, but does get a little more damage potential than the Warden and Venator style heroes. And Leviathan also went with Mina, who is kind of a scaling gun carry, but like Celeste, she builds Spirit more than she builds gun. And while Mina's going to do a lot of shooting to proc her passive Love Bites and such, a lot of the damage is going to be coming from those procs of her Spirit-focused abilities. Love Bites as the passive, the Rake as the one active, and of course, her Nox Nostra ultimate, which just shoots out bats that silence enemies, and she shoots a lot of bats, so it's a lot of damage. And Buff Enjoyers, I want to point out their last pick was Paradox, another kind of pick-off hero to work with Calico, and potentially Abrams as well. Those three could be a very strong tri-hero lineup to just find an opponent and kill them. Paradox pulls them out of position, Abrams stuns them into a wall, and then big buff damage comes out. Wait, what? Why did those heroes just swap sides there? It could be them having some fun on the production side of the Deadlock night shift. Or maybe they got it wrong on the first go around, and it was actually Paradox on Leviathan and Mirage on Buff Enjoyers. If Mirage is picked for Buff Enjoyers, I really don't like it that much for the fact that now you're triple dipping into these scaling gun heroes, and that's very slow. What I mean by slow is these are heroes that, sure, they'll get through the lane just fine. They can even feel strong in lane. But once the objectives on the map start spawning around the 10-minute mark, and you start having to maybe contest for objectives, do some team fights and stuff, these three are heroes that take a little bit of time. They want to get some farm, get some items in themselves before they start fighting. And when you've got three different heroes doing that, it's fine to have two, but having three, that really slows your lineup down and makes it difficult to engage in those objective fights in the earlier stages of the game coming out of the laning phase. We'll see how it works out, and we'll see whether that was the right pick or not, because it looks like we're about to get into the game, so give me just a second and I will transfer us into the game itself. All right, everyone, welcome to game number 1 of Buff Enjoyers versus Leviathan in this best of 3. Taking a look at it, it looks like Leviathan will be our Amber team and Buff Enjoyers will be our Sapphire team, or Orange versus Blue. So, taking a look at the lanes, we have Doorman Paradox, and Paradox already sent back home pretty early, facing off against a Mirage Calico. I think Mirage Calico have the easier lane here overall, and wait a second, Abrams dead over on the right side of the map. Billy taking first blood very early. And over on the left side of the map, we've got a little bit of a fight. Big damage coming in on the side of the Venator and the Mina. Very low as well. Trying to escape Calico. Good movement. Not quite enough, though. A headshot lands from Warden. Man, we don't see this guy so much. I forgot his name. From the British cop guy. All right, so back to lane setups. I didn't expect action to come out that easy. Mid lane, we have Doorman and Paradox against Calico and Mirage. I feel like Calico Mirage are just there to have Mirage catch waves. and Calico to roam. The biggest strength of Mirage that I can think of for these teams isn't him scaling into a strong gun carry, it is his laning presence. This is a lane bully that is very self-sufficient and very difficult to push out of lane. And that means if you put a hero in the same lane as him that likes to roam and make early plays like a Calico, they are a lot more free to do so. And that is potentially going to pay dividends for buff enjoyers eventually. Well, it already did. Calico already made a roam over to the left lane and got a kill onto the Mina. Helped get a kill onto the Mina. Over on the right side, we have tank and support versus tank and support. Abrams plus Rem versus Billy plus Dynamo. So I expect this to either be a wash, and both sides are just kind of going to farm, or to be a bloodbath where both sides try to fight each other to the death. And it'll result in everyone on the losing side dying, because that's just how this kind of lane works out. Oh, parry onto the Rem. Rem's dead. Abrams is low. They're diving in. Parry onto the tower, and death to the Abrams as well. Billy Dynamo crushing the Rem Abrams lane. Like I said, this is either going to be a wash or a bloodbath, and it's looking like a bloodbath. Then over on the left side, we have Mina getting killed right now. She is dead. To the side of the Venator and Warden. Venator and Warden seem to have gotten themselves off to a very good early lead against the Mina and Celeste lane. Celeste is not going Golden Goose Egg this game. Not going to follow in Abraham's footsteps there, but it hasn't really mattered that much. They're still getting dominated in this lane. A lot of pressure is coming their way, and a lot of damage has already gone the way of Mina, as she has died twice and is down by a full 1,000 net worth already from everyone else. 5-minute buff spawned. Did Calico get one? No, she was down below. Venator? Venator got a gun buff. And over on the right side or middle of the map, I would say it would be Paradox? Doorman? Mirage? No? Bit of a fight going on. Tornado. Door. Gonna just let Doorman back away. Oh, Dynamo stunned from the shoulder charge by Abrams, but in comes Billy swinging his bat. The man keeps trying to keep Billy down. He's just here to bash through some windows and open things back up to the power for the people. The man being Abrams. He's a detective. That makes him the man. He works with law enforcement. Calico skirting the edges of the lane right now, trying to help out the Abrams and Rem, who have had a bit of a difficult early game so far. So any assistance is definitely going to be warranted and appreciated. Calico coming in. Not going to be able to hit much. Wall stops the gloom bombs from attaching to anyone.
Prepared for this.
Let's see if they're prepared for this. Turns into a cat. It's my favorite line before a skill or after a skill ever.
Death awaits.
Are they prepared for a cat? So far, the answer is yeah. Only one roam from Calico has been successful. And let's be honest, that lane was already getting bullied and beaten down. Calico just helped a little bit. Speaking of, Mirage has been 1v2 in this lane for the most part, while Calico's been running boxes, and Mirage has been winning a 1v2. Oy. That's why they picked Mirage, I guess. They are tripling down on these gun heroes, but let's put it this way. If they get through the early to mid game and they're not behind, they have the much better scaling lineup. Because they have 3 M1 gun heroes, and gun scales infinitely better than Spirit. A lot of people say we're in a Spirit meta, but that is denying the fact that gun just way out damages Spirit, and has way better items than Spirit. We're in a Spirit meta only because the game usually ends pretty early, But the moment that the games go a little bit long, you see that gun scaling carries are a million billion times better past like 30 minutes. So really, Buff Enjoyers are just looking to bring this game past 30 minutes, and they're keeping the game even so far, which is very good for them. If they can reach that point, they'll be pretty difficult to beat just through the glory of these three heroes. Looks like Billy has transferred over to the left side of the map to try and help out. Good swap by Paradox, pulling Venator back in. The ultimate from Billy. The chain gang's gonna hold on to the Venator, pull him back in. Down goes Venator. Really, that chain should have snapped as he went around the corner, but that'll result in 2 kills as Mirage used the ultimate to show up and try and help Venator, but it did not work out for them. Billy making a lot of strong plays in this early game. Gonna also finish off this Guardian. Over on the right side of the map, there is some pressure from Buff Enjoyers onto this side. Ultimate from Celeste. Pops out, sitting on Abrams. It is gone now. Ran out of time. Hadn't bounced for long enough. Celeste is denying them this tower for the time being. This Guardian not going to be taken down quite yet. And Doorman is over in the area, possibly looking to send someone on an all-expenses-paid trip to the Baroness, the hotel that he works at. No? No trips for anyone yet. Now, I will talk about, real quick, the great equalizer that does not care how farmed you are for the most part. The dynamo in the room must be talked about. This hero is a late-game monster. And Black Hole can and will completely turn any situation around. Quantum Entanglement being used to dodge. Black Hole is available. He's just going to go through the door and die. All right, no Black Hole commitment. All right, Warden just backdoors the Guardian, finishes it off. Calico dies on the other side of the map. And the first urn has been picked up over on the side of Leviathan. They're looking pretty crisp right now. They've been playing quite clean for the 2 games we've seen. See, Billy also took the bridge buff before grabbing the urn. He's got a casting buff on.
William, can you please just drop me? I can pretend I never saw you. You do know where you're supposed to take.
Is this an urn contest? Oh my god, we haven't seen an urn contest in weeks. People just keep letting it go for free. No way. Calico diving in with Warden on to Celeste, knocking the urn right out of the hands of Billy. Here comes Abrams from around the corner. Billy brought very low and actually going to die. They steal the urn. They get a kill. Buff Enjoyers, the first team to contest an urn in weeks, it would feel like. And it goes entirely their way. Dynamo is up on the roof. Got it. All right, our first rift has been spawned, or is starting to spawn on the left side of the map. Mina currently pressuring out for Leviathan. And you can see, look at the mini-map, 4 blue heroes running as fast as they can over there. Mirage currently the only one contesting. Mina getting a little more farm. It looks like they're giving this up and trying to trade it for Walker pressure. Now, we saw before, Celeste, when she's got a few items in her, can pressure the Walker very, very fast. The problem is she doesn't have a few items in her, just a little bit. And in the mid lane, they were trying to pressure this Walker too, but they spread a little bit too thin. Billy goes down. Now, the Rift Troopers didn't do much. Mina caught the wave, just stood there waiting for it. Dynamo helped out. They were cleared out very quickly. So, no real pressure was applied from those Rift Troopers other than forcing Mina and Dynamo over there. But it did get a little bit of extra money back in the coffers of Buff Enjoyers, and we're still at a very even game. Again, Buff Enjoyers are looking for a later game timing for themselves. I know there's the threat of Dynamo, but Dynamo can't hit every hero with the black hole unless you make a big misplay, I guess, right? And I think Buff Enjoyers are good enough to not let that happen. There's also item builds. You can always build Unstoppable, and then Dynamo can't black hole you during that duration. It is the only thing that will prevent Dynamo from grabbing you. They also have Abrams. So Abrams is going to max out this Seismic Impact ultimate, which makes him become unstoppable. And when he's unstoppable, that means that he can dive right into the black hole and stun Dynamo out of it if Dynamo isn't unstoppable. That's why Abrams is currently maxing out Seismic Impact to be capable of being a counter ultimate.
It's you or me.
And I think that players in the pro scene are starting to really appreciate how strong Unstoppable is, and are really starting to put a lot more priority into getting Unstoppable as either the item or heroes that naturally gain the Unstoppable buff, like Abrams does with a max Seismic Impact, and getting that leveled up pretty darn quick. We've been seeing that for the past couple weeks, and I haven't mentioned it too much, but this is a game where it's really, really, really going to be important because there's a Dynamo on the enemy team. Usually, so here's a fun thing. If you use Seismic Impact and you dive down and you expect to stun Dynamo out of it, the AoE generally isn't big enough to hit Dynamo outside of the AoE of the black hole, the singularity. And thus, you just get sucked into it, pulled out of the big elbow drop, and then you're, like, helpless. So that final level in the ultimate is actually going to be very important for the side of Buff Enjoyers for Abrams to have. Ooh, Paradox dies. Abrams popping the ultimate. Here comes the big elbow. Does not clear the bridge to land on top of the Celeste. Misses the shoulder charge as well. Looks like Celeste is making some distance. 2-for-1 trade so far in favor of Buff Enjoyers as they take down the Paradox and the Doorman at the cost of just a Rem. Now, I will say both Paradox and Doorman can function pretty darn well at low net worth, so you don't mind them dying too much, but it being a 2-for-1 trade, obviously, doesn't feel very good. Calico found a parry, apparently, onto Mina. Must have come in cat form and just parried while she was doing the Sinners. And we now have a small lead for Buff Enjoyers as they take the urn. I'm telling you guys, gun heroes are OP, and their scaling is OP, and their items are OP. Buff Enjoyers are going to win this game. I'm calling it now. They are even at 16 minutes, if not ahead. Oh, that sneeze snuck up on me. I apologize. There hasn't been a single black hole yet. Dynamo, you have to press the button sometime, buddy. Even if it's not a perfect black hole. Something is better than nothing. Maybe saving it for the upcoming mid-boss contest because mid-boss is being contested. All right. Heroes coming on in. Dynamo cannot get there in time, even with the Doorman door. Rejuvenator, 1, 2, 3. All go the way of Buff Enjoyers. Ensuing fight? No. They're just going to back out on the side of Leviathan through the doorway. But Buff Enjoyers are now at a 4K lead. They have 3 Rejuvenators. They have incredible gun scaling heroes. Everything is... It is their game to lose right now. They would have to make some mistakes, I think. I want to point out this Paradox pick has not done a whole lot for the side of Leviathan. it hasn't really found its purpose, which is, you know, pulling an enemy out of position, getting pickoffs here and there, hunting around the map. Paradox hasn't really been able to do that. And instead just relegated to farming and being a relatively decent hero, even with low farm, but it definitely doesn't feel good for the Paradox right now. Walker taken from by Buff Enjoyers. Return to Shadows popped by Calico. Keeps her plenty healthy. Maxed out, so it has a big 450 heal. Paradox goes down. Doorman goes down. Pushes are coming through. Here comes the Calico to find Celeste. Celeste will make her way back out, but 3 heroes dead on the side of Leviathan. We still haven't seen a single black hole from Dynamo, and I know I said you black holes have to count, but I said you have to hit like 1 or 2 key heroes, not the entire enemy team. The longer you hold black hole when the game is even or going poorly for you, the more important the black hole has to be. You can throw them out a little bit more willy-nilly in the earlier game, or when you're not behind, but the later it goes, the more the black hole has to do something good for you if you start falling behind. So this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. You normally don't need an insane black hole, but because you're not using black hole, now you do need an insane black hole. This is just bad Dynamo play. I'm calling it out. That this is not good. All right, Shrine taken. They're using those rejuvenators freely. Down goes the Warden. No rejuvenator left for him. But they took a Shrine. They're going to take this Void Rift over on the left side of the map. They are now up 17,000 net worth in favor of Buff Enjoyers, with the scary, strong scaling team.
Traveler's not ready.
Setting up for the bridge buff spawns. Survivability buff, gonna go to Abrams. And over on the other side of the map,
Our green walker is under attack.
did Billy take it? No. I don't know who got the other buff. Looks like this walker's going down, but Billy's probably gonna trade his life for it at the end of everything. Oh, that hurts. Oh, wait. Hey, they got out. Oh, nobody took the bridge buff. It's a mobility buff. Dynamo should take that. He got it. Good for him. Calico caught by a slowing hex in cat form, though, so she's still pretty mobile.
Let's go blue.
Solern claimed by Buff Enjoyers. They continue to keep their lead and grow it. You hate to see it. Let me just point this out for all the wannabe Dynamo players out there, because he is a pretty fairly strong hero in the right hands. Do not, and I mean do not, go 20 minutes into the game without even touching your ultimate. This is not good. A very similar thing you can see in Dota 2 with Enigma, and that hero also has a black hole. The good Enigmas are willing to throw out black hole a few times and only start to save it for big black hole attempts once you get a little bit later into the game. And they use early black holes for pressure and getting pickoffs and just gaining a little bit more on the map for the team. When you don't use black hole, you don't use your strongest tool at all. It has a cooldown. It'll come back. I know it's a long one, but it'll come back. When you don't use it at all, you lose fights that you would have had a chance at. You have no chance at them when you don't actually dedicate your abilities to it. And that's what we've seen here in this game, and I'm calling it out. I'm saying it's bad play. I'm saying the player is not playing well. They are a pro player. They are better at the game than me. I guarantee that. That doesn't mean they're playing well right now, though. Unfortunately, this is a situation where maybe they're not the most practiced on Dynamo. Maybe they've used it a few games, and they've had some big ultimates and some scrims or something, or maybe on... some ranked games, but they don't play Dynamo a lot. So they're used to only searching for those big ultimates and having the big things that turn the game around happen. But you gotta have some small ultimates in there too. Sometimes you gotta just be happy with a catch on 2 heroes. In fact, often enough, a catch on 2 heroes wins a team fight for you. Like imagine they remove Venator and Rem from the team fight. That's a good catch. You know? Find whoever Rem's inside of and toss the black hole on top of them. That's a guaranteed 2-person black hole. But like I said before, the longer you wait, the harder it is to find impact on this Dynamo hero. And the better your black hole has to be. Dynamo has got debuff reducer, looking for unstoppable next. Do they even have anything to stun him out of it? Gut shot if he's right next to a wall, I guess. And then the Abrams ultimate seismic impact is maxed. So yeah, at this point, now Dynamo can't use Black Hole until either seismic impact is used or he gets an unstoppable. He could have used it for the past 14-15 minutes. Close to it, at least, before Abrams had Seismic Impact available, but now that Seismic Impact is maxed out, he cannot use it. Here comes the unstoppable. Black Hole is stopped. What did I tell you? Celeste ultimate bouncing around. Too much damage coming through from the side of Buff Enjoyers. Not enough damage coming through on the side of Leviathan. It didn't matter that the Celeste ultimate bounced maximum times back and forth around them. The Black Hole was canceled almost instantly by Abrams having the maxed out Seismic Impact. These things are public info. If you hold tab, all this info you see is available in-game. Everyone can just hold tab and look at what people have leveled up for their skills and such. So it should come as no surprise that Seismic Impact had the ability to do that. And that he was building towards it, and that you were on a bit of a timer before you would need to have Unstoppable before you could use Black Hole. Where do you need me to... Like, this is just... I see the doorman. It's uncoordinated, poor play coming out from the side of the Dynamo team, and especially from Dynamo himself. Really unfortunate, because Black Hole is such an exciting spell. Fight for the Rejuvenators coming through. Buff Enjoyers has the advantage here in the team number. They're going to get all 3 and just annihilate their enemies. It is not even close. A complete and total decimation of the forces of Leviathan. They filter in, they try their best for the contest on the mid-boss, but they are too far behind. They do not have their key ultimates available for that contest, and they just get completely destroyed. Mina slowing Hexed. Using the Sanguine Retreat to go forward instead of backwards. Sanguine Advance instead. Rift has been taken by... Dude, the funny thing is, Mirage is almost never in these fights. He's just taking map objectives on the side lanes and or controlling the side lanes by grabbing farm. He's just kind of... he's map man. He's not there for team fights or contests or anything like that. He's just there to throw some map pressure on one of the side lanes. Alright, he's got himself an urn for the team. Buff Enjoyers have very much won this game. It is pretty much a formality at this point, but hey, who knows? With Black Hole, all things are possible. If Dynamo can get an Unstoppable, and then Black Hole, the entire enemy team and then also get a refresher and black hole them again, then we're looking at a real game. That's definitely not unrealistic at all to enjoy or to expect. It's totally something that'll happen. Billy diving in with the chain gang, pulling Rem in. Rem's very low. Taken down once. They took down 2 rejuvenators there, but they lost 2 lives for it. 3 lives for it at this point. Seismic impact from the Abrams comes down the big elbow. It is a stun long enough for the shoulder charge set up onto the Paradox, and she's dead. Black Hole's not even going to come back off cooldown at this rate. Yep, down it goes. Victory for Buff Enjoyers. Dynamo used 1 black hole all game, and it got canceled within 1 second by the Abrams. That was a bad Dynamo performance, and too easy for Buff Enjoyers. Absolutely crushed the game, and they did it with a lineup that I said was a little greedy, and I wasn't the biggest fan of because of how greedy it was. Guess what? You can be as greedy as you want when you're playing a 5v6 because Dynamo refuses to press his buttons. That entire game, the big thing that Buff Enjoyers did that was brilliant is their use of Mirage. Mirage, if you notice his player damage, only 13k. Almost nothing. He barely participated outside of the laning phase at shooting at enemy heroes. But because they were running a pretty strong 5-man group up, and because they were at least even, if not ahead, for most of the game on the side of Buff Enjoyers, and because they had no fear of Dynamo, Dynamo did not put the fear of Black Hole into them, they were just able to allow Mirage to catch the left or right wave and dedicate his ultimate either to escaping a gank or just ulting to the other side of the map and catching the other side of the map's wave. So Mirage spent the entire game just like, yeah, I'll catch this wave. Okay, I'll catch that wave. Okay, I'll catch this wave. Okay, I'll catch that wave. So the outside lanes could never be pressured by the enemy team unless they really dedicated a lot of heroes to trying to catch the Mirage, and they didn't do that much, if at all. And Mirage was just very comfortable catching that because the 5 members of his team that were out there doing things were winning constantly. And that is a very smart usage of Mirage as not really like a scaling carry that gets in for the fight and stuff, but just as map cleanup. He was the janitor. And the janitor was not necessarily the MVP, but he did do a lot of work for the team by being the janitor. No, I'd say the MVP probably goes to Warden. Warden kind of annihilated that game. I'd also be willing to give it to Abrams. Abrams also kind of annihilated that game. So it's back to the drawing board for Leviathan. They are now down 1-0. In fact, let's update that score real quick. Buff Enjoyers up 1, Leviathan down. We'll see what their plans are for game number 2. Hopefully something a little less Dynamo focused. I think they have... I gotta pull the Dynamo card away from them. They're not allowed to play Dynamo right now. They have just put on a show that was disappointing as all can be. And look, man, as someone who's played a lot of Enigma in Dota 2, because I played offlane in Dota 2, you have to be willing to use that spell more than one time in the entire game. He used it once the whole game. It wasn't very good. And then they lost the game shortly after because by the time he used it, they were already behind by a bunch. And the enemy team had tools to stop it the moment that it came out. And that is the mark of someone that is not very comfortable playing the Dynamo. You're not comfortable with the black hole hero if you're not willing to throw the black hole out for map pressure. All right, so very well done by Buff Enjoyers. Mostly a lot of like poor play coming out of Leviathan, a lot of lambasting headed their way. Buff Enjoyers, I can't really like come up with any problems they had that game. It was clean as could be. They had a lineup that should have, in theory, had some troubles in the early game. They came out of the early game even, and then by about the 15-minute mark, they were ahead. And once a once a team with 3 scaling carries is ahead, against a team with 1.5, the team with 3 scalers is going to outscale you. So Leviathan's gotta come up with something a little bit better for themselves in game number 2. I wish them the best of luck. For now, though, we'll go on break and see if Buff Enjoyers are gonna 2-0 them or if Leviathan can punch back.